about to pitch a client, but you have no idea how to price. So you guess. And that one guess could leave you underpaid, overworked, and doubting your value before you even start. I am going to show you how to calculate your hourly rate with clear math, real examples, and a confident way to explain it to clients. After building my consulting firms up to 7 and 8 figures, I'm telling you, you need to start with hourly. I am going to help you stop leaving money on the table and start pricing like a valued consultant who knows what their time is worth. Before we get into the proven formula for hourly pricing and why it's actually a great starting point, there's a basic question you might be asking. Should I even consider hourly when some bash it? Isn't it outdated or risky? Well, here's the truth. If you're new, you genuinely don't know how long projects take. So quoting a fixed price without experience, that can backfire, and fast. Let's say you charge $100 per hour. You quote $1,000 for a project you think will take 10 hours, but it ends up taking 20. Suddenly, you just worked for $50 an hour instead of 100. You need a model flexible enough to protect you from these miscalculations. That's where hourly pricing comes in. And if you're still hesitating, know that you're not the odd one out. Depending on the industry, roughly 60 to 70% of consultants use hourly at some point. But how does hourly pricing actually play out in a real client scenario? What does it look like when done right? Here's an example. Peter, a competent technical writer who just launched his business. He gets a call from a new lead. The lead is already impressed by Peter's experience and expertise, but at the same time, the lead isn't clear on the scope. And because Peter hasn't delivered a project like this yet, he's not sure how long it'll take. That's where project-based or fixed fee pricing gets risky. But hourly, it keeps things clean. In my first business, as I got more experience, I started to quote projects with confidence. But early on, hourly gave me the breathing room to learn while getting paid. I knew when I agreed to $100 an hour and the project took 10 hours, that was it. A $1,000 invoice, done. No back and forth, no missed scope. Picking your hourly rate isn't random. It's how you manage the only resource you can't replace. As Peter Drucker, the father of modern management, said, time is the scarcest resource. And unless it is managed, nothing else can be managed. But how do you actually figure out your rate without guessing or picking a number out of thin air? Let me walk you through the proven formula with a real scenario. A founder I worked with, Andy, said, I want to make $10,000 a month. We roughly have 160 hours a month, 40 hours a week times 4. So divide $10,000 by 160 hours. Nope, that's not how it works. Your hourly rate isn't about filling your calendar. Your rate has to support your goals. And to do that, you need to understand something most new consultants miss. Only a fraction of your time is billable. On average, you'll bill about 60% of your hours. Well, where does the other 40% go? Think about it. You have marketing, sales, administrative work, back office tasks, all the things you now have to do as a business owner. So here's the right way to calculate your rate. Your hourly rate comes from a simple formula. Hourly rate equals total monthly revenue target divided by total monthly billable hours. Let's walk through Andy's numbers so you can see how this works. His monthly revenue target is $10,000. Now, in terms of billable hours, you take 160 and multiply it by 60%. That gives us 96 hours. So if Andy can realistically bill 96 hours a month, the math looks like this. $10,000 divided by 96, that gives us $104 an hour. Let's round that up to $110 an hour for some breathing room, and it sounds better. Now, the other important aspect is the total monthly revenue target. Now, what goes into the total monthly revenue target number, the $10,000 number? Your revenue target should include three things. One, business expenses, your tools, software, subscriptions, insurance, rent, overhead, etc. If it's easier, you can calculate annually and then divide by 12. For Andy, it's $3,500 a month. Number two, your take-home pay, what you actually want to bring home, and make sure you include taxes in your calculations. For Andy, it's $5,000 a month. Number three, profit, not optional. Profit is how you reinvest, grow, and create stability. For Andy, that number is $1,500 a month. Add all that up and you get the revenue target of $10,000. That number sets your floor. Charge less and you're underwater. Now, for those of you who are ambitious, if you want to earn more than $10,000 a month, you either raise your hourly rate or increase your billable hours. Early on, I recommend focusing on expanding your billable hour pool. For example, instead of working 40 hours a week, plan on working 60 hours. If 10 of those additional 20 hours are billable at $125 an hour, that's an extra $1,250 a week, or bang, $5,000 in additional revenue a month. And before anyone starts groaning about the 60-hour weeks, this is the part where you either act like a business owner or admit you're still thinking like an employee. See, starting a consulting business isn't a part-time hobby. It's a season of disciplined effort so you can earn the right to work less later. Either way, I have a pricing worksheet you can download and make your own and play out different scenarios. Check out the link in the description. That formula is a solid starting point. But is that rate realistic in the real world? Let's say for you, you calculate $200 an hour, but clients in your niche and in your market are used to seeing $100 an hour. Now what? Even if your math checks out, the market still has a vote. That doesn't mean you discount your value. I want you making more money, not less. It means you do the research to understand what's standard in your space. Now, if you've watched my other videos on this channel, you know how much I emphasize vetting your business idea. And competitive research is a critical part of that vetting process. Now, if you haven't gone through this vetting process before, I got your back. I have a link in the description to my full walkthrough of vetting your idea video. Check it out. But here's the short version. If most of your competitors or freelancers on platforms like Upwork or Fiverr are charging $100 an hour and you're planning on charging $200 an hour, you have to differentiate. Can you deliver faster with higher quality? Are you local in the client's time zone or offering something others don't? Those differentiators reduce friction and make the client feel confident about choosing you at a higher rate. See, buyers are savvy and research before they buy. In some B2B settings, buyers are nearly 70% through their purchasing process before engaging with sellers. So be ready to show why your higher rates make sense. I remember in one of my businesses when we pivoted and specialized in marketing analytics, we decided to raise our hourly rate from $150 to $250. It was a big jump, but we knew the subject matter cold, and we delivered with real responsiveness and with white glove service. So I knew we could confidently defend that rate. Sure, we didn't win some clients, especially with the cheap, price-sensitive buyers, but the higher margin let us be selective and attract the clients who valued the work. A pro tip here. Before we move to the next section on avoiding scaring clients with open-ended estimates, I want you to be aware of an acronym used in some industries. Instead of hourly, they might say, quote me T&M. They mean time and materials. T&M likely started in construction, engineering, and government contracts, where contractors billed for their hours plus any materials or third-party costs. In consulting, it's the same idea. Think of a client hiring a Salesforce or HubSpot implementer. The implementer bills for the hours they configure the system and then pass through whatever add-ons or licenses the client ends up needing. Even if your hourly rate is spot on, how do you give clients clarity without boxing yourself in? You say, I charge hourly, and the client freezes. Wait, how much will this cost me? Saying I charge hourly makes some clients feel like they're signing a blank check, and blank checks scare people. But there's an easy fix. Pair your rate with a range. Instead of just saying $150 an hour, say most projects like this land between 8 and 12 hours. Or use this other approach that has worked extremely well for me. Break the work into blocks. You and the client agree that after each, say, 10-hour block, you'll pause, update the client on progress, and then get their approval to continue. It creates natural checkpoints without committing to a fixed scope. This way, you've set expectations. The client sees a cap and you still have flexibility. So what's the real downside of hourly? Where does it start to break down? One, on the admin side. It requires detailed time tracking and disciplined focus. Or you could be solving a huge strategic issue in 20 minutes and only get paid for 20 minutes. As the opponents of hourly pricing say, when you charge by the hour, you're punished for your efficiency. Also, when you're charging hourly, you're still trading time for money. So your income is capped. That's one issue. The other, clients scrutinize your hours. Why did this take 2 hours instead of 1? And that brings us to the objections you hear everywhere. You've probably heard the backlash against hourly pricing from well-known business personalities. What is actually true? What is just bad advice? And what is not applicable to you at this early stage of the business? Objection number 1, hourly is broken. You should charge for value. Value-based pricing is great. I'm a big proponent of it, but not when you're just starting. You first need real confidence in the value you can deliver, and that comes from experience. Objection number 2, if a client asks for your hourly rate upfront, it means they don't see your value. There is truth to that, but nothing in this video suggests you'll lead the conversation with your rate. You still have to establish authority and credibility throughout the entire sales process. And if you need some tips on that, check out the video on authority and credibility in sales, linked in the description. Objection number 3, hourly is inferior to value, project, or performance-based models. Those models can absolutely be superior at certain levels of growth and proficiency. I even have a full 19-minute video breaking down all the pricing models. But for someone just starting out, hourly is the most forgiving, the most flexible, and the easiest to execute, especially when you follow the tips I'm covering in this video. You might be wondering, how do I keep my pricing fair without losing deals or burning time? You're new and a task takes you 4 hours. A pro would take 1. Do you still bill for all 4? Early on, you'll take longer. That's reality. But clients shouldn't pay for your learning curve. Bill for what the work should take, not what it took you to figure it out. As we've seen, hourly has its place. It's great when the work is undefined or shifting, and when you're unsure how long it will take. It protects you. But when should you start exploring other pricing models the gurus suggest? You've done 3 projects. You now know the average time. You know what's included and what's not included in the scope. And then it could be a good time to consider fixed fee or a project or a monthly retainer, especially for clients who are opposed to hourly projects. So keep in mind that hourly is the starting point, not the final destination. I like to think about it this way. It's like a basic stance in martial arts. White belts learn it first. Black belts still rely on it when the situation calls for something simple and solid. Still worried about picking the wrong pricing model or rate? Don't be. You charge $75 an hour now. 6 months from now, you might charge $125. That is normal. You can change, you can test, you can raise rates, you can offer bundles, charge different clients different prices, and even use different models. Pricing is fluid. The only mistake is not closing deals, not getting experience, and not making your clients happy. Now that you've learned how to calculate your hourly rate and you're ready to go beyond hourly, but you're not sure which model to choose or maybe when to switch, watch this next video where I break down the 7 pricing models that can skyrocket your profits. Plus, you'll get access to my pricing matrix to help you choose the perfect model based on your stage in the business and your expertise.